This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Well, it's already been a really big week for this show. I hope not to ruin it, because it's Mark Rowe in for Brian Hayes today, alongside my two good buddies, Jeff O'Neill and Jamie McLennan.
What's going on today?
It's about time we had a host with some class and dignity. He's got a Barney suit on, and you look fantastic, and everything is great. I love having Death Row sit in the big chair because we all need a breather from you-know-who once in a while. So Death Row, the voice of hockey and tennis at TSN, great to be here with you.
The pleasure is all mine. I definitely made sure that I dressed for the occasion, working with you two, and who knows? Maybe we have breaking news today because Hayes is out. We got players already requesting trades, so who knows what we're going to have for the next 2 hours.
Wow, I love it. The purple. Is that purple or is it like what's the?
I was just having a conversation with Steph about it, and we decided lavender was probably the best way.
Lavender.
So let me guess something. I'm gonna guess something, and then I'm gonna tell you something.
Okay.
Steph said she loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And here's the truth about it now. What she meant when she said that is she hates it.
Okay.
Biggest phony out of all of them. That's what. Oh, hi. Oh, I love your
I
suit.
love that guy.
No,
I love him.
exactly.
Love the suit.
Steph and I go
everything.
back years. She would never lie to my face. I don't.
That's
I don't
fair.
think so.
That's fair. But it does look great on you. Yeah, I couldn't wear it because you have a better look than I do. So
I don't know about
it's
that.
awesome, bro. You look great. We're feeling great, ready to rock. What do we got going today?
Well, we got our hockey insider, Darren Dreger, which is a great day to have him on because Dylan Larkin has requested a trade out of Detroit.
Yes.
So we can get his thoughts on that and on the Leaf head coaching search. You guys talked about Patrick Waugh maybe being in the mix. So looking forward to him. Peter Laviolette, his name has been, maybe he's calling you right now, but his name was sprinkled in a few rumors when it comes to the Leafs and Steve Phillips on the Blue Jays. So we got a jam-packed show, guys.
Well,
That Dylan Larkin stuff, it's, I don't know, it's, you hate to see it, but the way things are today with players that basically, I don't know, the guy's been there a long time and they just don't get to the promised land. They don't even get to the playoffs. So he's probably looking at it like, and I was talking with somebody, I think it might have been Struddy, where we were talking about Dylan Larkin, where he's one of those players where he's not necessarily a guy in the one spot that can get you to the playoffs. He's more suited probably to be backed up in it. Like there's got to be somebody on your team that's a better centerman than him if you're going to go anywhere. So I don't know if he's looking at that saying, I'm pulling a Dylan Larkin here like a mini Kevin Durant. I got to go join somebody. But it also puts Detroit in a position where they're going to be thinking, well, what the hell are we going to do with this guy? We're not giving him away. We got to get some return. And like, what are they going to do with the center ice position? It's just, I don't know. I don't like seeing guys do it because it's like, even if Hayes was here, he'd say, you're the captain, you stick it out with your team. But if it's just not working out, maybe, like, you know, we've talked about Morgan Riley needing a change of scenery. Maybe this guy does too.
Well, he's going to be 30 in July. This is a guy, you're right, has put in 11 years there. They've made the playoffs once. You know, there's probably a lot of that goes into this decision. But again, it might be a blessing in disguise for Detroit where they could continue to get younger. They've got some good young pieces there. They're close to being a playoff team. If you can trade him for somebody younger that can grow into that role or a pick or a prospect or all that type of stuff, you're trying to get better if you're the Detroit Red Wings. Again, they fell short. Let's not forget, that team, we've seen it every year, 3 years in a row. They were in first place.
Dude, I know.
In the Atlantic in January.
They've been pulling a Maple Leafs 18-wheeler.
But 3 years in a row, they've done it. Sam Cicerello puts up these amazing boards, him and John Perlberg. When I do games, it's Ottawa, Detroit, and we go, geez, look at what they've done. Look at where they were in January. Look at where they are now in end of March, early April. And it's been some big drop-offs. So this might be a mutual thing. And I think Dylan Larkin's a really good player. And you look at it, he's a 70-point guy, 30, easily 30. He's got 5 years in a row of 30 goals. So, I mean, he's a 30-plus goal scorer, 70-point guy who can play either in the 1 role, the 2 role, you name it, on depending the team. So I think he's got value. It's just a matter, what's Detroit going to ask for Dylan Larkin to come back? I would argue they need to get younger because they continue to grow and
I know,
try
Jamie,
and make the playoffs.
I know you said they've been close, but they've collapsed, and it's almost like, the way we've described any other sports organization on this show, they're rebuilding from a rebuild that hasn't done anything.
Exactly. But
that's a scary place to be for the fan base. Like, if you brought up the idea of some kind of retool or rebuild, I'm sure any Detroit Red Wing fan would say, oh, so you're telling me we're rebuilding from the rebuild with no success. And I guess sometimes crap happens, and it just doesn't work out and they don't get in or whatever. But I don't know. That would be a crazy proposition. And I'm sure every Detroit Red Wings fan would say, well, this is crazy. But then they might sit back and think about it and say, well, they don't win anything. They don't get in the playoffs. So what the hell's the sense of going to bat with the same thing?
They have to do something this offseason.
That's
right?
exactly. And that's where you're coming from, Ro, is when you don't have success, this is harsh to say, but you need a body on the tarmac. Mm-hmm. Somebody has to pay for it, right? We saw it here in Toronto. It's Tree, it's Berube. There's change coming with the players, all of that type of stuff. You need change. And Detroit, if they've chosen, if Stevie Yzerman's fine, if Todd McClellan's fine as a coach, whether it's Dylan Larkin or Detroit saying we need to change, it might have been inevitable at some point, because just what you pointed out, they didn't make the playoffs. They've come close the last couple of years, and they've taken steps. Last year is we needed better goaltending. They went and got John Gibson, and he looked great for a while, but then the team fell off. And they've got a stud defenseman in Sider. I think he was – we'll have to check, but I do believe he got Norris votes.
Yeah,
I believe I voted for him at top 5. He's a hell of a player. That Raymond's a hell of a player. They got DeBrincat, who's a 40-goal scorer there. They've got some pieces there. But, you always say it. If it's not working, don't be shy to change things up. Well, whether they decided to do it or Dylan Larkin has decided to do it, there's going to be change in Detroit, and we'll see what they get for, somebody of his caliber, put it that way.
Well, that's the most intriguing part of this is we could have an old school trade here. Like, this isn't Larkin for 3 first-round picks, right, or a bunch of draft picks.
Right.
Like, this could be top player for top player.
Yeah, I know,
both
but
teams
death row. The other guy coming the other way, everyone's got no moves and no trades. Like, it's just not as simple as –
No, fair.
Like back in the old day, you're getting an old school hockey trade, but with no moves, no trades, and all that stuff. But it's just everything is so much more complicated now.
For sure,
it's not just like another team that has a good centerman they want to move away from. It's like, let's see if they want him for Dylan Larkin. I don't know, Jamie. I want you to give me an example of what the equivalent of a Dylan Larkin would be in the National Hockey League. Not even a guy that would be traded. Just I want to know what you think is his equal, his equivalent.
On the fly, I'm trying to think here.
Like, the guy made the Olympic team. Like,
I mean, Sam Bennett, different player, but type of where you would slot him. Like not a 1, but a really good 2.
Yeah.
Somebody like that. And, again,
and Sam Bennett left a frustrating situation and went to a playoff contender, and look where his career went. Like that's
exactly right.
That's what Dylan Larkin is hoping for.
It's a bad comparison because they just don't compare in players. Like
I think it's fantastic because I was trying to put my finger on what kind of player, and he's a great example. Would Florida ever do it? Probably not. But that's the type of player. But then again, it's very complicated nowadays with money and all the things that are attached to contracts. It's a complicated transaction.
I look around the league, and there are teams that would fancy an upgrade down the middle of the ice.
Of course.
Well, I'll give you an example. The Philadelphia Flyers. Like Philly down the middle of the ice, right now on paper, it's Dvorak, Zegras, Cates, Couturier. Because Couturier used to be higher up, but he's getting older now.
Yeah, and I don't even think Zegras is a centerman.
Yeah, he's more of a winger. But again, you look at it, who would I don't know why, and I'd have to dig deeper into this, but I hear Owen Tippett's name being bandied about. You know, he's in year 3 of an 8-year deal at $6 million a year. I think he's a hell of a player. I don't know why Philly would want to part with him, but maybe they have to part with him to get something different or a different type of player or, you know, a different position. But I think of stuff like that. There might be a hockey trade out there that wins for both organizations. You know, I don't know. Like, we'd have to take some time and dive into it. But it comes back to the original argument, Ro. What we were talking about is 11 years this guy's been to the playoffs once. Mm-hmm. So he's probably looking and going, I think I need to change the scenery. It's time, whatever. Detroit now has to work with him instead of just casting him aside and saying, we're trading you to X, Y, and Z. It might be, I'm thinking of, again, I'll look at the depth chart. You think Utah would take him? You know, somebody like that? And Utah's got a ton of young, good
situation.
Players. You know,
like he's not going to Vancouver for Pettersson because he would just be going backwards.
Well, he controls, remind me, or we should have Doogie or whatever look up on the fly. Does he have a no move? Does he control his destiny? As
O pointed out, you just assume at this point that anyone who's, you know, any kind of player has a no movement clause.
Right. So, I mean, I'll give you an example just where I'm looking on Puckpedia. Down the middle of the ice for Utah is Schmaltz, Cooley, Hayton, McBain. Mm-hmm. Like, Schmaltz is a hell of a player. Makes $8 million a year, good player. But could Dylan Larkin slide in there? And that Cooley's going to be a hell of I think he's a star.
Yeah, but guess who Detroit would want?
They probably want Cooley, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Right.
Noodles, you've got an assignment before the end of the show. Since the fraud isn't here. Since the fraud isn't here, we're going to do a B listing segment, and I think I want you to give me the top 5 destinations for Dylan Larkin. Can you do it by the end of the show?
I mean, we'll dig into it because I'm off the top of my head. I'm thinking, does Mason McTavish need a change of scenery in Anaheim, who is a healthy scratch? Hell of a player, 23, 24 years old, and Anaheim might be looking to add another veteran guy there, right, to help with that.
List any good team that needs another centerman. Montreal
would be, a huge, because they would,
What about Ottawa?
You go Suzuki into. I don't think Ottawa's deep down the middle of the ice. I think unless you're moving a centerman out, because if you look, regardless, I know. You said that you think Stützle's a winger. Even if Stützle goes to the winger, you've got Cousins, Pinto, Gregg, into Lars Eller last year. But like that's.
I think this guy's a good enough player, Jamie, where you would look at that and say, we can find a way to make this guy fit. I think he's a really good player. Like, he's a big guy. He's not physical where he runs over people, but he's just a big body that's kind of slashes and cuts. And I like the physical element to his game. Like I said, not like running over people. He's just a big guy that can take it to the cage. He's got good hands around the net. Jamie just mentioned he's got 30 goals 5 years in a row.
5 years in a row, and had another 32-goal season 2 years before that. Like, the guy's 30 in the bank no matter what. I think he's a hell of a player. But there's no shortage of teams that'll throw their hand up. Joe from the Bridge saying Minnesota. Yes, of course. There's teams that could use a guy, especially if he doesn't have to be your number one.
Yes.
If he could be a 1A and you're going X player into Larkin into something else, you know who could use him, honestly? Like right off the top of my head, the Winnipeg Jets. Because that 2-hole in Winnipeg, Jonathan Toews is going to go away, Adam Lowry in the 3-hole, and you got Scheifele in the 1-hole. And that would be formidable. Like that would be a pretty impressive 1, 2, 3. But again, does he want to go to Winnipeg, and what are you giving up to get him? That's the, these are the giant what ifs, and I'm doing this on the fly and not even looking at anything. So there's lots.
It was just good landing spots. You don't have to make the trade. So I think you're doing a pretty good job, Noodles.
Trying to figure out as we go on the fly. Like there's so many teams that, I can see the Rangers putting up their hand and saying, hey, if we're going to move out Trocheck, man, like to have a Zibanejad into this guy, into Larkin. Like, are the Rangers trying to do something here in the offseason or not? Like, I think there's so many teams that could put up their hand and say, I would want Dylan Larkin. It's just the cost of doing business and what goes the other way.
If you're the Leafs, do you trade Matthew Nyes for Dylan Larkin?
I don't know. I mean,
assuming he would go to Toronto. Let's just assume that.
I'm still trying to figure out why Matthew Nyes keeps coming out.
Well, he's the tradable.
He is. You're right. But, a 23-year-old guy who can score 30. Yeah. What we're talking about a 30-year-old guy who scores 30. Different position in that. I don't know. I think the other thing is Nyes' cost certainty at, what, 8.25, something like that. Like, you're right. Nyes has value.
I don't even think it's that much, Jamie. I think it's 7-something.
I don't know. Well, Joe from the Bridge will throw it in there in 5 seconds. But my point being is I think he's about $8 million, we'll call it, round up or round down. And he's on cost certainty, and we haven't even seen his prime yet, healthy prime. And so Nyes wouldn't be a guy, like he would be in the untouchables for me or close to it. Again, you've got to see what's coming back. If you are hell-bent on retooling, whatever, then, yeah, maybe it is Matthews into Larkin into something else, but into Tavares. I just don't see it that way. I think Nyes, unless, okay, I'm talking myself out of it. If McKenna's ready for that number one left spot, then you go, okay, maybe. But again, I don't move Nyes personally. I think he's a guy that you would keep, for the value of your team. He's one of the guys that you could probably trust that he's going to be very good for a long time.
Okay, 7.75 for Nyes.
Okay, so you're right. So we're calling 8, just under 8. It's a pretty good clip for a guy who's probably going to get you 30 goals a year. 25 to 30. I don't think he's a 40-goal scorer, and I think he got 29 playing with Mitch Marner, who's an elite passer. So they got to get him the puck still. That's the one thing.
Well, I think that he had his moments last year. Obviously, it wasn't a great year for him. He still accumulated some points. But I think he's one of those wingers, and I was the exact same way. I could shoot the puck, I could score goals, and it's almost like the better my centerman played, the more I benefited from it. So if Austin Matthews is dialed in 100% healthy and is the Austin Matthews of old, that just brings Nyes up to a different level. Like, you throw me out there with some goon centerman, you're not getting the best version of myself, Death Row.
No, you need the puck in favorable situations. And I think they never got into a groove last year outside of that. I think it's John Chaika's job to round out that top 6 into where guys can complement each other. And I think that's, that'll be his whole focus if we are going to, whatever we're doing, retooling, and the mantra is to make the playoffs or try and be a playoff team next year. You've got to find somebody to play comfortably with Matthews and Nyes and or Nylander, or, figure out how your top 6 is going to look.
I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm just like Joe from the Bridge.
You're making trades right now.
No. It's worse, Jamie. It's worse. The blue and white disease is starting to infect me again. Because I was so frustrated, and I'm like, God, this team, they're just... And now, as the time goes on, I'm kind of like, maybe if they just freshen it up and do this and do that. Because I talked myself into, there's just no way in hell that they can add the pieces they need to be competitive
you want
year.
You said 7 or 8 players need to.
No, Brucey Boudreau said that, and I tended to agree with him.
I do too.
It's just like Death Row. They need a total refresh. They need a bunch
I don't disagree.
And it's impossible to do. To get the quality impact players they need, they don't have the assets to do it. It's almost impossible. But I'm starting to get the blue and white disease back, where I'm like, maybe it was just a one-off. Maybe
because you met McKenna.
Maybe it's because I met McKenna.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I asked him if he wanted me to be his mentor, and he said absolutely not. So we'll see what happens. But I'm just starting to get positive. Where I'm
there's lots of work to be done in the bottom 6, and if you believe that Cowan is a top 6, you still have to give him time to grow. Same thing with McKenna. You can have a young left side. Keep in mind, you got Cowan on the left side, Nyes on the left side. Now McKenna would be on that left side. And maybe you move them to the right or whatever. What are you doing with Nick Robertson? He's an RFA. Is he a guy that you believe is part of the plan, or are you going to move him or move away from him and try and find a different situation? Matias Michelli needs a contract. Is he a guy that you covet to bring back, or do you move past him? I think Chaika might know him from the Arizona situation. Maybe not. I'd have to check to see if they cross paths there. But at the end of the day, there's lots of decisions to be made outside of the Matthews, Nylander, where's Tavares going to play. I don't see if Tavares is going to be like he was last year, he can play second line minutes. I prefer if you're deeper that he plays in the second, third line type of thing. But there's lots of, coming back to it, Ro, lots of decisions to be made. Lots.
Yeah, he was, well, just seeing Tavares on the wing with Team Canada at the World Championship, you start thinking maybe that's his future with the Leafs.
I think so, too, because you might be able to hide him as Father Time chases the legs, right? A winger, you could speak to this. You can hide a little bit more. Centerman, you got to play the full 200 feet. Got to get down to the corner, help the D out. And the winger, you got to be responsible on the wall. So I think Tavares would be probably more effective on the wall as he gets older and his foot speed continues to decline a little bit. Like, he's never been a burner, but he knows how to get there and works hard, right?
Yeah.
Jamie, I want you to give me some clarification on something. Death Row would like you to weigh in as well if you have any insight. How does a transaction go down if a player basically asked to be moved and yet he himself has a no movement clause? Like, how does that complication affect things? Like, is he basically giving the freedom to the organization to say, like, he's obviously not going to say, trade me wherever the hell you want. Like, it's a very complicated thing where you say, I want out, but by the way, like, you've got to lose some right of picking and choosing, don't you, when that scenario arises?
Yes, and that's the one thing. So if you decided that you wanted to be moved and you have a no move clause, what the manager does is say, let's work together. And the manager and the agent, it's not the player.
Yeah.
They're not.
So do they say to the agent, you go get the deal done yourself?
No, I think what the manager does is he starts to test the market. This guy's available. See, this is the other thing, and we could talk to Dregs about this. A lot of times managers and or players and agents will leak this stuff to insiders to get the marketplace going already. Because guess what we're doing 20 minutes into our show? We've been talking about Dylan Larkin. So all of a sudden, every manager, who follows TSN, follows Sportsnet, follows all these things, Dylan Larkin is everywhere, has requested a trade out of Detroit. Mm-hmm. So guess what the managers do? They'll call Stevie Yzerman and say, I can put together a package for him. What does it look like? And the thing is Larkin's camp is going to control where they go, but you can't just go, I'm going to this spot and nowhere else, because it's not, you're going to jam up the team. You got to give him 3 or 4.
He ain't good enough for that.
Well, I think he's good enough to get a good haul back.
I know, but he ain't good enough to say I'm only going here, because they'll just tell him to stuff it.
Fair enough, but you're going to have an unhappy player. You've got to work together. So I come back to it, I think you sort it out and go, 3 or 4 teams can put together a package. Let's see what this looks like. You'd be interested in and you say, hey, it's Utah, it's Minnesota, and it's, name a team, the New York Rangers. Mm-hmm. Any of those teams attractive? Because we got good offers coming in from them, and we'll work together to get this done. And I think that's what you look at. That's today's world, and I think Dregs is a part of that, or as an insider, you're a part of that because the information comes out a lot of times through these guys, and now the stakes are on for Dylan Larkin.
Yeah, I think it's scary times, to be honest with you. Like I said earlier, a player has the right to do this. Been in the organization a long time, not a lot of success, but it's like, what I just wonder what the league's going to look like in 5 to 10 years, where it's like teams that just aren't good, the good players are going to say, get me the hell out of here. Players playing in Canada, get me the hell out of here. Like, it's already kind of morphing into the haves and have-nots a little bit, where there's destinations to play, where they're always good, and I don't know. I just wonder what it looks like. It could be interesting.
Oh, you just brought up something interesting. Keep in mind, Dylan Larkin is a captain of an American team, right? He's an American player. So there might be a team. I mentioned, hey, like Winnipeg. What if Kevin Cheveldayoff calls him up and says, love to have him here, but, concerned, does American guy want to come to Canada right now?
Wouldn't shock me if he said, not a chance in hell I'm going to Canada.
There's lots of different things, different factors with the climate and all of that type of stuff today. Point being, you have to weigh all of these in, and the player is going to be right in the middle of that, and the agent trying to sort that out.
By the end of the show, Noodles, top 5 destinations for Dylan Larkin. You can You can
Carry
chat
the
with
tradition.
You can chat with Death Row and put together the list, and I want to see it by the end of the show. B-listing without Hazy B, it's going to be called.
Right. I love it. Okay, well, we'll grill Darren Dreger when he joins us at 4:30 on Dylan Larkin, the Leafs head coaching search. Peter Laviolette, speaking of the head coaching search, he's going to join us at 5:05. Get his thoughts on stuff. We'll just leave it at that. Steve Phillips joins us at 5:30. Here's the toughest part of filling in for Hayes. You're watching OverDrive on TSN 5, the TSN app, your home speakers, live on YouTube, and I am making my debut on Crave once the show is done.
Yes.
I love Crave.
Yeah. You know how they name the episodes? This one's just called Death Row.
Love it.
Yeah, love it.
It's gonna break records.
You know it.
I don't. So we're also, and I've been told we're on TSN 4 and 5, so I've already screwed it up. Anyways, Darren Dreger, our hockey insider, will join us after the break.
HSBC Sevens Bordeaux on TSN Plus. Subscribe now.
Tomorrow on TSN 1050, the NBA Finals continue between Jalen Brunson's New York Knicks.
The Brunson burner has been lit.
And Wemby's San Antonio Spurs.
Wembanyama throws it on his head.
Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. Hear it all on TSN 1050. Now, back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
OverDrive continuing. Mark Rowan for Brian Hayes alongside the O-Dog Jeff O'Neill and Jamie Noodles McLennan. Our hockey insider Darren Dreger will join us in a couple of moments where lots to talk about as we prepare for Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final tonight. We're all expecting, I think most of us are expecting at least a different looking game than Game 1. I know, Noodles, you were a little harsh on the goaltenders in Game 1. I think bounce back performances from both of them.
Yeah, I'd like to see. I mean, I didn't think they had their A game, but they still made really good saves. And I didn't think there was bad goals, but again, anytime you give up 5 and 4, the goalies are going to look at it and say, how are we going to adjust here? That's the biggest thing.
Simple as this, Death Row. You score 4 on home ice in the Stanley Cup playoffs, the finals, you should win the hockey game. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Let's bring in our insider.
Well, on that note, our hockey insider Darren Dreger now joins us here on OverDrive. Dregs, how's it going? Anything going on right now in the hockey world?
No, nothing at all. No, nothing going on.
No disgruntled stars who want out of their city?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're referring to Dylan Larkin of the Detroit Red Wings. And, when you think of bombshells, that's as big a bombshell as we're probably going to get leading into the offseason post-Stanley Cup. So I think there's need for a little bit of an explanation here. This has been in the works for a while. I think that's pretty obvious. You don't just wake up one morning as a top player and go, okay, I've been here 11 years, whatever it is, it hasn't worked out. Time for a fresh start. No, this is
years in the making, Darren.
No, years probably is a stretch, O-Dog. But again, you think of Dylan Larkin. I mean, it feels like he was born and raised to play with the Detroit Red Wings, obviously, right? Like that's where he's from. So for Dylan to get to the place where he's requested a trade, that tells you that there's been a lot of thought and there's layering to all of this. I mean, the man has a family, and I don't think it's as cut and dried as him, wanting an opportunity to win, and he doesn't see that opportunity in Detroit. I think that's maybe where it starts, but then there are multiple layers that go beyond that. How did he get to this point? Did management do enough to insulate him, to augment what they have, all of those things? And, those are questions that I suppose Dylan is going to have to face if or when a trade actually happens. But the information is legit. And I think that he and his representation, which is CAA, it's Pat Brisson and JP Barry in that group, are dismayed that the information got out in the fashion that it did. Because when you're talking about a top-end guy like this, especially in a market like that, where, let's be honest, there aren't that many stars that play with the Detroit Red Wings. They're good players, but Dylan Larkin is kind of the one guy that stirred the drink. We saw that when he got hurt this year. So I think they want to do their business beneath the public eye and underneath the surface, and it just hasn't worked out that way. So, man, talk about a laundry list of teams that are going to be interested in this fella. You know, he can flat out play, so we'll see how it all plays out.
Darren, can you explain the complexity of a player that wants out and also has a no movement clause? Like how that works, just with, you know, where he wants to go, can go, where the team wants it. How does that all come together?
It is complex. So, you know, your description is accurate. And again, I think that's why maybe the player and his representatives would have preferred it not get out publicly, because that way, you can do your work confidentially. You can go to management. It's not the first time this has happened. Say, look, it's time for a change. And so we're formally requesting a trade. Here's the list of teams that we're interested in going to. So have at it. And that can get a little spicy too, right? I mean, the team doesn't have to automatically say, all right, well, we respect your trade request here, so we're going to do everything within our power to move you to, you know, Minnesota seems to be the flavor of the afternoon based on social media speculation. And we can appreciate that Billy Guerin would have a ton of interest in Dylan Larkin. You know, it's great cap hit and all of those things. It does get a lot more complicated when it is now as public as it is, because Steve Yzerman might be, next to Lou Lamoriello when he was the general manager, the most private GM there is in the National Hockey League. Nice man, see him in the hallways, the fancy hotels we stay at when there are general managers meetings, but he does not pull the curtain back. He does not. So this whole process is going to anger him, and it's going to get complicated.
So, Dregs, we were talking about before you came on the process of how this would go down. And I kind of, you know, I may have spoke out of turn, but do you feel sometimes if the information gets leaked out, either to the insiders or to the media, all of that type of stuff, is that sometimes the way of testing the marketplace? And, you know, I know agents would be pissed, all of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But you know how this information, it's almost like a trial balloon. Is like, okay, let's get the marketplace going here a little bit early on.
Sure.
Or would it be behind the scenes that every manager would know that he's available already?
Maybe some would have known. I can tell you by the GM reaction to me, based on the news breaking this afternoon, they didn't know. And these would be managers who are in the market for that type of player, like a centerman, right? Like now, you know, Dylan Larkin's going to have a big say in what that market looks like. We've already established that. I honestly, I'm not going to waste any time digging in on how the leak happened. But as we've just talked about here, do we honestly think that information is coming out of the Detroit Red Wings organization? I don't.
No way.
Like, I don't think so. I don't know anybody inside that organization, starting at the top with Steve Yzerman, that wants that out there because he wants to either apply public pressure to Larkin or to see what the market actually is. And based on the reaction that I got from the Larkin camp, they don't seem too happy that the information is out there either. So there's a myriad of ways that this stuff gets reported. It happens on a daily basis. It just isn't as surprising as this one is, just based on the status of the player with the Red Wings organization.
All right, so something to keep our eye on, something that we're all sort of monitoring day by day, and you came out with the report yesterday that the Maple Leafs have interviewed Peter Laviolette and Patrick Waugh for their head coaching candidacy or vacancy right now. Patrick Waugh, obviously, there's a reaction there given his history as a player, his history as a coach, his connection with the Montreal Canadiens. What you know from this new management with the Maple Leafs, do you see him kind of aligned with their vision of where to take this Leafs organization?
It's a great question, Mark. I don't think anybody really knows what the direction is, to be honest. And I mean, by anyone outside of John Chaika and Matt Sundin and the group that's intimately involved in this hiring process. As Chaika said when they fired Craig Berube, his media availability, the web was going to be wide, right? Like they were going to kick all sorts of stones and look in every corner and make sure that they interviewed everybody. Okay, so why wouldn't you, have a conversation with Peter Laviolette, given his experience as a Stanley Cup champion? I would be intrigued by Patrick Roy. I mean, he wasn't the fit for the New York Islanders as they move forward. They thought it was better that they go with Pete DeBoer, who's got more experience in that sense. But Patrick was an intriguing guy. He certainly would get the juices flowing inside the division. But we're looking at a couple of guys who are involved in a bigger process. And what I was reminded of earlier today by somebody who was involved is that they still don't have a timeline. Like Chaika and company they're invested in what's going on this week at the draft combine in Buffalo, and then the draft isn't that far down the path. So even to establish when they want to have a head coach in place, they don't have a timeline for that. So that tells you that they're going through whatever their process is, as extensive as it is. And even, like the follow-up interview with Patrick Roy, with respect to everything that has gone on in the hockey world, I think Patrick Roy told him, look, I of course I'm interested in a second interview here, and that's likely going to be face-to-face. But he wants to get through all the Claude Lemieux funeral arrangements and everything that's gone on to saying goodbye to a good friend. So there are lots of things that are factoring into this.
So, Dregs, David Carl, has he only said no to the Maple Leafs, or has he said no to the NHL altogether?
Yeah, I think to the NHL altogether, to be fair. And I don't know that it's a hard no. David he's been elusive. He's not campaigning. He is listening. He is evaluating, but he doesn't have an agent. He's not campaigning to jump into the National Hockey League. What we know he's doing is what has been announced and reported on the last couple of days, and that's looking after player personnel with the Denver Pioneers. That's where his focus is, right? So it sure doesn't seem like it's likely that he's going to make that NHL move this year. But based on last couple of years, not just this year, the interest around David Carl, I think he's confident in his own coaching ability and future, that he believes that the opportunity is going to be there when he and his family are ready. And the opportunity, whether it's in a market that he approves of, closer to wherever he wants to call home, financially, all of that, it's going to be there. It just doesn't seem like it's going to be this year.
Dregs, I want to ask you about the Edmonton Oilers, because I find it fascinating that the information got out, however it got out, that they wanted to interview Bruce Cassidy and they were denied by the Vegas Golden Knights. And now I haven't heard anything about anyone else maybe that they're interested in. And maybe I'm just not, I'm not close enough to the situation. But is this a situation where they're still hopeful that they eventually will get permission to interview Cassidy, or are they keeping things a little closer to the vest?
Well, both. I mean, I think they're absolutely hopeful that they'll get permission to get to Bruce Cassidy. A bit of a risk, I would say. I haven't heard of who their plan B is. I believe that Peter Laviolette has been through that process. I know that the Los Angeles Kings continue to do their due diligence on Lavi. We know that Stan Bowman and Jeff Jackson spent time with Craig Berube a couple of weeks ago in Toronto as part of their interview process. But I think it's relatively quiet on that front. So you start to wonder a little bit because, the commissioner's availability with Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly, Daly basically said to Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final that they were comfortable with the position of the Vegas Golden Knights through the playoffs. But that kind of offered a hint that maybe the NHL gets back involved if they can legally. I don't know that they can. If they can, after the Stanley Cup is awarded. I mean, if you're Vegas, you've taken this position at this point because you're trying to block two division rivals in Edmonton and LA. Why would you relent? Why would you back off after the Stanley Cup has been awarded? If you don't want to coach against Bruce Cassidy in Edmonton or LA, you have him under contract for another year. So, unless the NHL is back-channeled and given the Oilers and potentially the LA Kings more information than we have, then I think it's a risky game that the Oilers are playing. I do believe that Edmonton, whatever direction they're going, whether it's Lavi or it's Jay Woodcroft or somebody else, it does seem like LA is closer to naming a head coach perhaps as early as midweek or late of next week. So that tells me that the LA Kings aren't going to wait around for Bruce Cassidy.
Just quick on the Cassidy situation. We know how Vegas does business. They play for keeps, all of that type of stuff. But, would that affect any type of potential coach that they ever wanted in the future? It goes, hey, you fire me and you're going to make me sit on the sidelines like we saw with Butch.
Yeah, it might, Noodles. So I guess what I'd like to know more about, and this kind of stuff we don't know about, is how does one coach contract vary from another coach contract? And will there be a standardized coaching contract at some point moving forward? We know there's a coach association, and I think it's a healthy thing for NHL coaches. But if you don't have a standardized contract that is the same in one market as compared to the next, and the NHL isn't going to get involved to manage that sort of process, then what are you left with, right? I mean, if Bruce Cassidy had a way to get out of his contract, he said it. He said it publicly. If he could resign and forfeit the $4.5+ million, whatever it is, in the remainder of his contract, he would do that. Well, what else is left for him to do? Nothing. He's contractually bound. So I mean, it depends on the coach we're talking about here. Do you want to go to a place where you think you can coach a team to the Stanley Cup final and you're getting $4+ million on a multiple year deal to do that? I think I'd be willing to sign up. And, the consequence is that in the final year of my deal, I get gassed because my team isn't responding, but I'm still getting 4.5. I may not like that they're blocking my path from coaching the team I want to coach, but I'm still getting paid, and contractually I'm obligated to stand the ground. So I'm not so sure it's going to impact Vegas negatively moving forward.
Dregs, you just mentioned Bettman. How long do you think he talked about a succession plan? How long do you think old Uncle Jerry's going to stick around for?
I mean, I chuckled not because of the question. No, I chuckle for a couple of reasons. Uncle Jerry makes me giggle every time I hear it. But there was an incident, and I use that term appropriately. This is going back a few years ago at Board of Governors meetings where Pierre LeBrun felt like he had a big scoop, and that Gary Bettman that was a slip right there. He was about to present to his owners that succession plan. Like, here's what we're going to do. It's going to be my suggestion is Bill Daly, blah blah blah, whatever it was, and so Pierre, I mean, he's a pro. He talked to Bettman multiple times over the course of that 2-3 day meeting span, to a point where Bettman was getting sour with him. He was getting surly. And he was like, do not report this. Do not say this. You will make yourself look foolish. But, I mean, let's be honest. Given everything that Commissioner Bettman has done, the billions of dollars that he's brought to the league and to the owners, the age he's at, he's got, a flock of grandchildren, all of those things, and big business, corporations do this all the time. You have to have, a corporate succession plan in place. So I don't know. What does he have? A year, 2, 3 years left? I'm not going to be the guy that pinpoints that, because he's going to be in that office for as long as he wants to be.
All right. Well, next time we have Pierre on, we'll have to ask him about that story. But
yeah.
Anyways, lots to talk about at this time of the year, Dregs. We appreciate you coming on.
Okay, fellas, have a good night.
There you have it, our hockey insider, Darren Dreger, on the latest of Dylan Larkin potentially being traded, at least wants to be traded outside of the Detroit Red Wings organization. Who's going to be the next coach of the Maple Leafs? And the postseason continuing with the Stanley Cup final. We're going to take another break. Still to come, Peter Laviolette's going to kick off the 5 o'clock hour, plus our baseball insider, Steve Phillips, at 5:30 as OverDrive continues on TSN 4, 5, the TSN app, your home speakers, live on YouTube, and soon on Crave.
Now, back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
OverDrive continuing. Mark Rowan for Brian Hayes alongside Jeff O'Neill and Jamie McLennan. And it was the New York Knicks getting a real big, important win on the road to kick off the NBA Finals. Teams that win Game 1 of the NBA Finals win the series 70% of the time. But that's all a moot point because of the headline of a fan running onto the court, taking a selfie with Wemby, getting arrested, and now being banned from all NBA games for the rest of his life, as we're showing it now on TSN 4 and 5.
Yeah, it was a weird setup, man.
Wemby was
I was
smiling.
watching that live.
Yeah.
I was watching that live because the play stopped. I'm like, what's going on? Is that somebody on the court?
When the cop with the cowboy hat comes out, that's when I started to worry. Because they're in Texas.
That guy ran on the field and he's banned for life. All the videos of all the stupid people at football games, anywhere fighting, should be banned from any sporting event for life. Like, I don't know how they could monitor that. Like, this guy's probably going to end up going to a sporting event.
It's a good point. Like, how does the NFL react? Like, that guy could go
That guy shouldn't be allowed to go anywhere. But the people that are fighting and doing stupid stuff at these events, like you see these people videotaping fights, banned from sporting events, but there's no way to police it, I wouldn't think.
No,
but
I know.
I think it's just
he got
insane.
off easy because usually the streakers in an NFL game, they get hit hard.
Well, I like to see it exactly. Like, they should be tackled and tased and all of that stuff, But instead, like, this guy the guy with the cowboy hat could have been serious. Like, you're right. Like, if that guy tunes him up or does a little bit worse, then it's not good. But it's dangerous for everybody, guy running on there like that. I don't like it.
All right, coming up to kick off the 5 o'clock hour, Peter Laviolette plus Steve Phillips, our baseball insider, as OverDrive continues on TSN 4 and 5.
HSBC Sevens Bordeaux on TSN Plus. Subscribe now.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Hour 2 of OverDrive continuing. Mark Rowan for Brian Hayes alongside the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, and Jamie Noodles McLennan. It is such a busy time of the year. It's a great time of the year when you have the NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup Final, the CFL is kicking off tonight. Your guy, Christian Watson, just signed a big deal. I think he's attributing most of that success to his appearance on OverDrive. There's a lot going on, guys.
Like to ask Doogie a small favor about the Christian Watson signing. If Doogie ever posts that picture of me in that XXX gray cardigan again, I just
fireable offense.
It's a fireable offense. I don't know what it is about that pic, but
tough angle. That's what it was.
Dude,
is it Hayes looking at his drive bad?
No, dude. I look like I'm 700 pounds. Like, I know I'm not a rake, but there's just something about that. I don't know. I cannot ever do some AI editing to that, Doogie.
Aren't you the executive producer of this show? Doesn't everything have to run by you before it's either
apparently
goes on the
not
air?
that pic, but I saw that. I thought that pic was dead and gone. And all of a sudden, I saw Doogie tweet out today, friend of the show signs a contract, and that gray XXX cardigan came out, and it's just people were carving me about the wrinkles in my pants and how long did it take. Somebody said he gets up early and he doesn't work until 4, so he had all day to put his pants on. It just
Oh, I'm
it
sorry.
just created problems. Yeah.
There's some tough. I mean, listen, we all have
look at the cardigan. Like it's insane world. Like I don't know what it is.
Is that also the samurai shirt?
No,
for Noodles?
yes, it was. That is. That's a samurai
that is
shirt.
the kung fu shirt,
right?
Yeah, see, and people are more focused on your cardigan than the kung fu shirt. How about that?
How can you not? It looks like it's 7 miles wide. It's just outrageous.
It is a tough
Doogie.
angle.
It
It's
is, man.
angle.
I got my hands in my pockets. I don't know. I don't know, Doogie. After today, I think we got to edit me. I just say, here's Christian Watson with Noodles and Hayes, and just cut me out of it. Friend of the show. It can't go live anymore. It's tough.
I mean, it's a tough look. I'll be honest. I didn't notice it until you pointed it out.
Yeah,
I forgot that was my special
some things
shirt.
kind of get your attention, and that one does.
Seeing you in person, I can say you look much better than that picture.
Look great.
100 times.
That's what a great host does. But I want to ask you guys both. We've talked about the percentages of the road team winning game one in a series. So we know the percentage is up around 70 or higher for the team that wins game one on the road to win the series. Do the San Antonio Spurs or Carolina Hurricanes, one of the two, win the series?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you better hope because you're betting on Wemby, right?
Dude, I woke up at 4 a.m. My first text, Frankie Rubes, he had to text me. He's like, Wemby is going down. The Knicks are going on a run, and it just made me sick. He had to chime in. And I know that Hayes just had to stop himself from doing it too. I thought the Spurs were going to run all over the Knicks, man.
They're up by 14 in the third quarter.
Yeah.
I think they just ran out of gas, and they're coming out of a 7-game series. I think they'll be fine.
I was waiting for a Beansy. Like usually Hayes will tweet out that Beansy picture in the hospital bed. That was not there. But that game kind of was all over the map. Brunson got hurt for a bit, and then I don't know.
And you can tell Wemby, he lost it a bit with his legs, and even it's so funny. He goes out, the Knicks go on a 10-0 run. He's the ultimate X factor when he's out there. And
I'll tell you what, that Brunson is a stud, man. What a competitor, what a player.
Some of those shots that he hit,
game breaker.
I agree. Impressive. But I don't think that series is over.
That's what Lavi likes.
You were a game breaker when you were playing for our next guest. Joining us now on the Maple Toyota Hotline is Peter Laviolette. Can you confirm that Jeff O'Neill was a game breaker when he played for you?
Lavi, don't answer.
I kept him right in the same spot. I held him in the same regard as Brunson, talking about him.
There you go.
There you go.
That's the answer I expected.
He was awesome in that game last night. I was in New York for a few years, and to get to watch him, because I don't know, right now I'm following Tampa Bay a lot. They're just, they were just north of me, and I know Coop or whatever, but you always follow the local teams wherever you move. And so I ended up just watching a lot of the Knicks games, and he's constantly doing what he did last night, just making shots and making plays that he shouldn't make. Well, not shouldn't make, but they're high end. They're ridiculous plays. They completely turned the game around.
Lavi, Brunson's a game breaker. We just talked about him. And in hockey, you need your game breakers. What and I know we had conversations, but what's your general message in the playoffs to your go-to guy? Does anything even have to be said? They know they have to contribute, and there's guys in Carolina that need to step up right now. Do you even talk to those guys? Because you can't really risk breaking them up because the other lines are playing so well. It's a unique situation there. You need your great game breakers in these situations.
You do. I think you got to keep talking to them. You got to keep, at this point, right? You need them. This isn't about ice time. This isn't about message sending. There's none of that going on. So I think you need to talk to these guys, show them the video, keep putting them in opportunities where maybe they can be successful to try and find it. But and I don't think much changes, not just talking about that line, but just in general in the playoffs. I think that your game break, your type players, they know who they are. They know what their job is. They know what their responsibility is. Anything you can do to encourage their great play, I think that's always a positive thing. But it's not like special messages okay, it's this time of the year, it's playoffs, and we got to get going now. They know that, and so they have the ability to completely change the direction of a game. And you start in game one. I thought the Carolina fans are unbelievable, and to watch that building just completely get engulfed with the red and the energy and the juice that was in the building, you would have thought that the building moved 2 feet to the right and that it was going to be 10-0. And then all of a sudden it just kind of turned and guys started making plays and, like you said, game breakers. And all of a sudden the game's completely in a different direction and quickly. But I think you just let them go. Oh, if they've been doing it their whole life, they're probably going to do it in the biggest stage as well.
So, Lavi, what was your biggest takeaway from game one on both sides, really? Is it, they were kind of wading their way into the series and there were some mistakes? And if you do have that, I mean, what type of adjustments do you look at heading into game two?
So you think about the Montreal series where against Carolina, where Montreal came out and they snuck game one out of there. You know what I mean? And so there's time now for Roddy and his staff to get back in there and to show what they've been doing the entire year. I thought it just got a little bit loose defensively, which is not necessarily the characteristic of Carolina. Like they're usually pretty good at a consistent game. And so for me, it's a little bit of a wake-up call. You get that momentum. Maybe you think it's going to be easy, maybe a quick breath. There was the timeout just for a second where Torts rallied his troops, and you just think it's going to be easy. You take a quick breath, and sometimes that's all it takes. I thought the goal at the end of the first period was huge. And then for me, as a building block to go in and say, win the second period now. Like, take the second period down, and now you come in with a lead. You come in with tied or a lead, setting it up for the third. But they came out and just kind of blew the doors off it at the start of the second period. And, everything went in. It was kind of uncharacteristic of them from a defensive standpoint. And then from, the goals going in, Anderson had been so good. And so, I don't know, to me, it was a little bit more fluky. But if you remember how they played in game two against Montreal, it was tight. I mean, it was like they just completely erased that game. They went back to what's made them successful the entire season, which is hard defense, time and space, physical, no room. Harder to do against a team like Vegas, but that's what I would expect in game two.
And you mentioned Torts rallying the troops, and we all heard the pep talk that he gave the team when they were down 2-0. And I'm sure it's a pep talk that most coaches give, and this one just happened to be mic'd, and it was during the Stanley Cup final. But John Tortorella is not for everyone. What is it about this situation where he's just pushing all the right buttons with the Golden Knights?
He's an experienced coach that's been there. Like, if you think about it, he's probably coached every situation that is possible. And I think it was just a smart move to be able to use that timeout, to keep your timeout in your pocket, to get the guys in here, to have them come in, catch a minute, feed them some positive information. Again, it's not a time for panic, especially with that group, but send them in a different direction. Maybe sell them the one goal. Get one goal, get on the board, cut it to 2-1. You know what we do, you know our identity, and just bring them in and just try to change the makeup of the game. And sometimes for me, a timeout does that. If you can use the timeout, that you actually call a timeout. It was smart. He was able to do it just with a stoppage, keep it in his pocket. And like I said, that goal, I thought just making it 2-1, going in at the end of one, that was a big deal.
Lavi, the pressure points come quickly in a playoff series, and it seems like, as soon as Vegas wins game one, the percentages go way up for, the road team that wins game one. Like, is it close to it's got to be almost must win tonight, isn't it? You do not want to go to Vegas down 0-2. I mean, obviously there's time left, but the Canes immediately have kind of put themselves in a pressure situation here. Yeah. More than it already is.
Obviously, it makes it more difficult. You get down 0-2, you get down 1-3. If they do win one, they drop two in a row. It obviously makes it more difficult. But there's a lot to like about the way Carolina's handled things all year. A lot to like about the way that they played. And like I said, I just go back to game two against Montreal. I mean, there was nothing there. It was just so stingy. It was so almost agitated and irritated the way that they played. It gave Montreal nothing. And so I'm kind of expecting a game like that from them. Is that enough? I think it could be. You're right, you definitely want to go back to Vegas 0-2. So a must-win, yeah, I'd say so. But I kind of think that they'll get it back on track.
Lavi, I understand you've been buzzing through some airports. I know that because when you hand a guy a customs form, it was my brother. He's a cop at the airport. So you can't tell me you weren't at an airport. I just want to know about meeting with teams as a veteran coach. Like, has it changed over the years since you came into the league, or just the whole process, how it's different for a guy as experienced as you?
Yeah. I didn't know it was your brother. He didn't say that, unless you're just busting me right now.
No, I swear to God, my brother's a cop at the airport. I swear.
He could have said something. He could have said hi or something.
He doesn't. He likes minding his own business.
Money. No, it was. Listen, when there's, going into interviews, like I've been on a lot of them. I'm not talking right now. I'm just talking in general. Like, I've been on a lot of interviews, and just, I think when you go into interview, teams are looking for a path or a direction of what is that you think you can bring to a team. And so they're all a little bit different in how they're handled. But I think the main point is just to be true to yourself and who you are and what you believe in, because the last thing you want to do is sell a myth or sell something that you're not, and then get in there and say, wait a minute, I thought we were going to be this, or I thought we were going to be that. I always just find, with players or with an interview or whatever, I always find honesty and just directness is the best policy. So that's how I've always handled things.
It's a pretty intriguing situation when it comes to the Maple Leafs, in that they have the #1 pick, and yet they don't want to rebuild. And they have Austin Matthews, who's a former Hart Trophy winner. And they're also going up to Whitehorse to meet with a #1 pick. And I was thinking, in your long career in the NHL, what is the farthest that you've ever traveled to go talk to a player?
Probably up to Ken. I remember going to see Scott Lawton, just popping into the game and watching him play. And, that was probably the furthest I had been. I hadn't gone to over to Europe to watch somebody play, I don't think. I think probably up to Canada. Like, Scott's probably the last one that I remember watching. It's not always that you get the opportunity to go up and see players or talk to players and that are part of your system. And so there was an opportunity, and we went.
So, Lavi, just back on the coaching interview, just general questions. When you go to prep for a team, say you're flying in for XYZ team, is it a scenario where you go through their depth chart, you go through everything that the team has and potentially could have, and then when you're in these processes, when you're in the room with them, do they ask specific questions on how you would handle this star player, or how would you deploy this, or what do you think of our goaltending? Like, does it get very specific in these interviews?
Yeah, I mean, it can be specific. Again, I don't think anybody, or certainly a coach, like when you go into a game, you do your best to prepare for the opposition. You do your best to prepare for individual players. You do your best to prepare your own team, whether it might be power play or penalty kill or 5-on-5. Like, you want to be ready. I think that's in life, though, not necessarily only in a hockey interview. And when you go and interview anywhere in life, or if you're preparing for anything that might come your way, I think that you want to be prepared. You want to be ready. So knowledge of the situation, I think, is always important, with regard to that. You don't want to walk into any situation. You don't want to walk into your team and say, hey, what are we doing in the neutral zone? And have the team say, and you're looking at them saying, wow, I'm not sure. Let me go check. Like, you need answers. You need to know what's going on. So I think the same thing just goes in life in general. Interviewing for hockey, interviewing for life. Just be ready more than anything. But yeah, I think you should be ready, Noodles.
Peter Laviolette joining us on OverDrive. As we approach the off season here, and we were talking about Dylan Larkin requesting a trade. As a coach, I know that's more the GM's role, but when you hear about one of your players requesting a trade, or you may maybe hearing rumblings that they're not happy, do you have the inclination to intervene, or do you try to make a pointed effort to kind of let the GM do their work?
I think for the most part, there's always conversations, with the GM. It's the general manager's job is to, listen to agents or players if they're talking about a trade. I don't necessarily know that that's coach's job to intervene with it, but I think there's conversations too that come from it. Once you get the information, it's out there and there's knowledge of something, or you've had conversations with your GM. I think there's always room to go backwards and talk to the player and figure out how you're going to work through that. And those off, not talking about Dylan, but oftentimes in those situations, sometimes things happen and they happen right away, and sometimes they don't. And it's still the responsibility of the team and the club to be successful on a nightly basis. So if something like that does happen with a player in general, I think that it happens and your team moves forward in training camp. But if it doesn't happen, again, I think you table it. I always think it's good just to table things, just to put it on the table and talk about it and how you're going to move forward inside the team and what's best for the player, what's best for the team, and how do you manage that situation together.
Lavi, I want to take you back to the finals a little bit, where after the first game, Rod Brindamore said, I need more from my top players. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said. When you come out publicly and say that, and Rod's a straight shooter, you're a straight shooter.
Yeah.
Do you find a little bit something different in your approach for the next game to find them maybe a little extra shift here? They know they've kind of been on blast. They're prideful athletes, but do you give them a little extra opportunity to kind of go out and show it?
I think you absolutely do. I always say that if I bring somebody into my office, O-Dog was never there. But if I bring, no. If I bring somebody into my office and I challenge them, the worst thing that you could do is give them 7 minutes and put them on the fourth line. And so if that was Roddy's intent to just to nudge him, just to say, hey, listen, it's an honest fact, and he didn't embarrass anybody, he didn't berate anybody. He said, listen, we need more. If your power play's down, you say, we need more on the power play, and your power play players can take that to heart and say, yeah, let's get going. We need to turn this around. But then you can't switch up the power play units, or if a line's not going well, you challenge a line, and then before the game starts, they come in and they're not on the same line anymore. Like, what good does it do? And so I would think that you could find a couple more minutes, that you could find a matchup, that you could find an offensive zone start. And maybe it's one, and again, maybe it's just the confidence that they get from that.
Lines or something, right? Because there's no time left.
So for me, there's always a plan B. So it's game one, and like I said, they came out so strong, and all of a sudden, they find themselves down. I think it was 4-2, right? And so it was quick. It was really quick. And so I think that you go in tonight, and especially with what we just talked about, you said, listen, we need more. You give them that opportunity. But for me, there's always a card in my back pocket just to say, okay, it's not going well. It's time to mix it up. It's time to shake up the third line winger and the first line winger and see if that can bring something to the table. Maybe it's not a long-term thing. Maybe it is. But I do think when you get in these situations and the yardage on the field becomes shorter and shorter, you have to have a plan B, a plan C in your back pocket.
Well, Peter, we appreciate you coming on. If you are traveling, whether it's for pleasure or for business, make sure to say hi to O's brother, and we hope that you travel safely.
I'll get him to get you to the front of the line next time. I was coming up here
to see O. Don't kid yourselves. I just came to see O-Dog and have a beer with him. That was it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you can golf with O. And unlike the guy who usually hosts the show, you can ride in his cart.
Yeah, sounds good. Good luck, Lavi. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Take care. Thanks.
Peter Laviolette joining us on the Maple Toyota hotline. It's time to Toyota. Check out the Toyota Tacoma and Toyota Tundra pickup trucks, both available as hybrids. Maple Toyota, near Canada's Wonderland, in the Maple Toyota or the Maple Auto Mall. All right, busy man. You saw your brother, O.
I mean, was that a true story, or you were just?
I swear to God, my brother's a policeman. He's a cop. He works at the airport.
Yeah. So he spotted him coming through. I would have.
Yeah.
You know what I was going to tell Lavi? Just ask Ryan about the Blue Jays. Ryan might attack or charge the mound. He'd probably be pissed the way they're playing.
Search Lavi's bags.
Exactly. The Jays are not playing well. I mean, Atlanta's a good team, though, right? You look at it, but man,
they've lost 4 straight since the Hoffman blow-up.
I know. It's almost like that. I don't know. We said it yesterday, man. They seem to take a step forward. You're like, okay, it's going to get on track now. and then it's 3 steps back, and it's a tough scene. It's a tough scene. The offense is back to just being abysmal, where it's like ground out, double play, ground out. It's like they get one here or there, and they're like, okay.
The first inning was everything yesterday, and a microcosm of the season. Bases loaded, no outs. You get 1 run on a double play.
Exactly. Like, come on. And then it seems like they're struggling and sticking in the game, and then the other team goes yard with 2 men on, and then I change the channel because I know it's over.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like it seems like every game when they're in this kind of funk, it's almost the same movie every time, where it's like they're fighting, they're battling, they stick in it, it's a close game, and then a long ball, and I honestly shut it off, and I know when I wake up and watch SportsCenter, it's going to be the same score or worse for the other team.
Well, and
it's just
I guess it's not a problem, but the issue is that the record isn't great, but the league is bad, and all the injuries kind of give you an excuse that once you get those guys back, then we'll be the same team as last year. So how do you approach the next 100 games in the regular season, and are you serious buyers at the deadline, and how much belief do you have? Because
I think they have to be buyers just from how they painted themselves and last year, and they don't want to take a step back, and they don't want to send that message. They almost have to be, but they also need players on the roster to play way better than they are.
Agreed. Yeah,
I agree.
Well, Steve Phillips is going to join us at 5:30, so we'll get his thoughts on that. The Stanley Cup Final continues tonight with Carolina looking to even up this series against the Vegas Golden Knights. I hope, from an entertainment standpoint, that it's like Game 1. Not necessarily cheering for Vegas, but 5-4, 6-5.
I don't think Torts or
I agree.
Roddy Brindamore want that.
I mean, this is 2-1, 3-2 type of territory.
Yeah, I would put a lot of money on the game being 3-2.
Yeah.
Well, you just look at the errors from the Carolina Hurricanes, like mismanaged assignments, puck giveaways, stuff they just don't do. And I don't know if that was kind of the flip over from just getting out of a series or what the deal was, but I don't know. They'll be better, though. Roddy, and they'll have them going, and they'll be a lot better.
Yeah. OverDrive is brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you more ways to play your game your way. Our baseball insider, Steve Phillips, joins us after the break.
Back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Marco in for Brian Hayes today on OverDrive alongside Jeff O'Neill and Jamie McLennan. Steve Phillips is going to join us in a couple of minutes. Who was listening to the show yesterday, guys. Noodles, congratulations on the offer to golf at this year's RBC Canadian Open.
Well, I mean, I had to turn it down because I knew the other two would be so upset, right?
Of course. That's the kind of gentleman that you are.
Noodles, what I want to know is, like, what are we talking about here? Because it's like your golf is like Norm on Cheers' Vera. Like, no one's ever seen it. No one knows anything about it.
What a reference.
Yeah.
I love it,
just,
though.
It's just Vera is your golf because nobody knows anything about it. Like, would people need to be ducking?
Well, I think so. I mean, I don't golf very much.
I know, but like, how many times have you ever golfed? Like, when's the last time you actually played golf, or do you always just say, I'm not playing, I'm not interested?
No, I think I golfed a couple of years ago where I was forced to somehow. I can't remember what it was, a tournament or something like that. I don't mind it. I like the social aspect of it, but what bothers me about it is I understand the mechanics of it. I'm not very good. I think I could be good if I worked at it, but I don't. I choose not to. I don't need advice from everybody. Like, that's the problem. I get up there and say, this is what you need to do. I'm like, dude, you shoot 120. I don't need to hear from a guy who shoots 100 or 120 how to hit. I would be fine if somebody – if it's somebody who's a scratch golfer and go, hey, this is what I'm seeing, no problem. But when I play in these pro-ams, everybody's an expert. And I'm like, well, are you a pro? No, I sell stocks. I'm like, okay, well, then you're not a pro. Like, I don't sit there and tell you how to trade stocks. So don't tell me how to golf. Like, I get frustrated with that. Plus, it takes a long time. These tourneys I always play in, they're 6 or 7 hour rounds. Like, I know, you play in 2.5 hours or whatever. That's more efficient, or 3 hours. I like golf. I just don't have enough time to do it. I feel like I'm too busy.
Well, then we're not
Fair?
putting you in the Canadian Open Pro-Am then. It's dangerous.
I
You'll be
would
there.
sit on the bag, or I would, you know what? I would hit, like I would shoot. Like Hayes is like, go one drive, like do something. I'll do it. I don't know what I would do. You know, if I go to the driving range with my son, who's 8. I've been there a few times with him. He likes it, and you know, I know how to hit. But I'm like Hayes. I probably should shoot left, but I shoot right. I shoot left in hockey, but I shoot right in golf, which is probably a no-no to start off with, right?
Yeah, I've never understood that. Like, the hockey motion is so similar. I have no idea how guys play hockey left and they get to the golf course and they're playing golf right. It doesn't make sense to me. It never will. It never will.
Well, you'll be there. I hear that you guys have a great setup, and more importantly, I hear the transportation situation has improved from last year, which is big news around here. Your ability to get to the set will be better.
Why?
Yeah, because it's not so far away. It's going to be sweet. I think we're right by, like, the driving range putting green area.
Doogie's talking about first-class treatment. That's all I heard.
We've only had that from Golf Canada and the Canadian Open Death Row.
Okay.
Let me clarify that right now.
Well, and Doogie drove us on it was a wild goose chase last year. Like, it felt like it was a long ways away, was it not? And there was rain and all hell was breaking loose. Didn't we have to stop?
No, last year was we parked in that driveway and we just went through the trees and we were right there.
That's right. That was 2 years ago. This year, the park in the driveway and walk over, that was awesome. Yeah, I love that.
Well, we're looking forward to that. You guys are going to be live on scene for most of next week, and then I think on Friday you're going to be at the Canada House for the FIFA World Cup to kick off Canada's game against Bosnia and Herzegovina. But the Blue Jays looking to avoid the sweep today against Chris Sale, who in his last 3 outings, 12 strikeouts, 0 earned runs, 10 strikeouts, 1 earned run, 7 strikeouts, 0 earned runs. To give us some sort of optimism ahead of tonight's game, our baseball insider Steve Phillips now joins us. Steve, give us something, my man, please.
Well, guys, I got to tell you, not the greatest matchup tonight either. I mean, you're going to face Chris Sale and you're going to go with an opener. But you know, listen, if they can get the Sale early, that's when to get them. Get them early, bunt, run on him, and try to take advantage to get him flustered a little bit. He gets emotional if you get him early. But, you know, I think it's not a great matchup either. He has thrown the ball extremely well so far this year. Their offense is hitting on all cylinders. And, I mean, they're just a really, really good team right now. So, you know, if they run into the buzzsaw and, you know, they're healthy for the most part, they do have some starters that are going to work their way back, but the starters they have are throwing well. And so they're, listen, this is a tough team. There's no shame in losing to a team that's 62-40 so far in the season. But that being said, the Jays cannot drop too far behind. They've got to keep pace in that wild card race.
Steve, it seemed like they were trying to make some ground up. They were making some ground up. I think they slid into a wild card briefly, and then they fell backwards. If you were on the fly, could come up with like a mini little power ranking of what the hell needs to happen for these guys to click and get moving, you can include health, Vladdy's performance, possibly making a trade, pitcher health. Like, how would you kind of put that list together?
Yeah, so I think Vladdy getting going is number one. Because, you know, look, you can make additions, but if your best player isn't playing well, you know, you're not gonna make a trade for a best player, right? You're gonna make a deal for a complementary player. And so, you know, I had a year one time I thought to myself, look, I can make as many moves as I want, but if my good players don't play well, then there's not much I can do. You know, I could do all I can to supplement him. So Vladdy's got to get going. You know, enough's enough. I mean, it's time for him to step up and start to deliver. It can't be everybody else trying to get it done. And so Vladdy's number one by far, and it's a significant number one when you look at it. I think that you know, beyond that, you know, Springer's got to be the second guy who's going. And he looked like he was starting to get things going a little bit as well. But, he's got to be, the other catalyst. He's an emotional leader on this team. Vladdy needs to just do it by action. And he is a vocal guy, but he goes to Springer to say things for him. And Springer at 206 with a 282 on base and a 350 slug is not the George Springer that they need. They need that guy that come back from last year. Then they need Kirk and Barger back in. I think that they need to round out the lineup so that they can feel like, okay, this is who we are. Remember who we were last year. Now we're all back again. Let's start to row in the same direction. It's just you don't always get that luxury, when there are injuries. And you've got to, the likelihood is, the possibility could be that those guys come back, but somebody else could get dinged up a little bit. But I think if they get the offense going, the pitching for me can be enough. And they're going to get healthier with the pitching, but I don't know what's fair to expect out of Scherzer coming back in it. I don't know really what Bieber's going to be. And, I know he's coming back, but, man, it's taken a long time for a guy who looked like he was okay at the end of the year last year. It's taken a long time for that elbow to bounce back. So, I think that, it would be nice if some other guys could get going. Jimenez down to 213 with a 259 on base right now. That's not great. At least Okamoto's got 13 home runs. But, when your top guy is Okamoto with 13 and the next guy is Andres Jimenez, your slate hitting shortstop with 6, and then Jesus Sanchez, a semi-regular player, with 6. You're struggling for power, and they can't fall behind and then hope for a 3-run homer. They don't have that kind of offense, and so they need the horses to get out in front and lead right now.
So, Steve, when you've got a scenario like you're talking about all these types of players, is it just as simple as one guy? Like, how do you get a guy like Vladdy going? Like you mentioned all of the things that could go, but is it you see a guy like who's going to make $500 million? He's the face of your franchise. How do you get him going? Is it simple? Do you have meetings with the guy? Is it extra time in the batting cage? What have you found over your experience to help guys find their game?
Yeah, so again, the thing about Vladdy, which is good and bad, is that he's struggling hitting 293. Right? You think, well, geez, that's pretty good. He's hit 293. He's got 387 on base. It's just driving the baseball. And when he's not confident, he gets caught in between, and his launch angle is bad. And so it's got to just be, I would have him out there taking home run derby swings. I would have him get out there and really pretend it's a home run derby where he gets that front foot down and he lifts the baseball and gets back to that feeling of, hunting the bottom of the baseball. I know he's not a great launch angle guy, and he's not. It's always been an issue for him. But this is he still hits hard ground balls, but that's not the $500 million man. The reality is that Luis Arraez can get singles, and there's a reason why he's been on like 5 or 6 different teams, because that's not enough. But I think that for Vladdy, it's a confidence factor. But I think you can work on things all you want. It's awfully hard to do that and take in the game. And then when a guy starts trying so hard, it makes it that much more difficult. But I would tell him, I don't care if you're late on the ball. I want you to go in there thinking about, don't drift forward, don't get out, you don't cheat on the fastball. Just see the ball and hit the ball, and stop worrying. If you strike out, you strike out. But I think right now it's just been such a struggle to get the ball in the air. And 10 doubles and 3 home runs is just, it's crazy because we know there's so much more in there.
So with a $500 million contract, Steve, and I don't want to blow this out of proportion, but we're getting to a point where it's like, what the hell's going on here with this guy? It's not just kind of a bit of a slump. It's 3 home runs, and he had 23 last year. Who starts scratching their head first? Is it Mark? Is it Ross? Is it the owner, Edward? Like, who starts scratching their head and says, what the hell's going on?
Yeah. So I think that it's more, Ross. And look, the organization, this is an organizational decision for a guy who, earned, like, he showed you what he can be. And in some ways he spoiled us because, we have an expectation for him that's well beyond what he's doing right now. And it's in there, and he's 27, so it's not like he's aging out. at this point where, look, Springer not being consistent, I kind of get it. When you get up to be that age, it's at least in baseball, that's where things start to decline a little bit. You're not quite the same player. Your eyes aren't the same. Your reflexes aren't the same. And we thought that he sort of caught back up again last year. But for Vladdy, this is just, this is baseball, and the mental part of the game is such an important thing, right? What did Yogi Berra say? Baseball's 90% half mental. And so, that part of the game is just your mind plays tricks on you. And then you do things that you think will help you get better, and they compound what you're doing wrong. And so I think it starts with on the field. Ownership understands that Vladdy is a great player. Mark understands that. Mark's been around for a long time. I mean, he was a GM back when I was a GM, so he's getting up there too. Ross knows, and they're just going to have to play it out. And the belief is, well, he'll get to the back of the baseball card, and what it means for us is he's going to get really hot really soon. Now, I don't know that he can catch all the way up to career numbers, but he's got to get better than this.
Steve, just want to quickly get your thoughts on the Yankees and the situation with Aaron Judge. And they keep saying it's not, long-term, and yet he keeps getting more and more tests, and he's going to see a doctor in Texas, and this bone bruise that's given him pain in his shoulder. How concerned behind closed doors are the Yankees right now, given that situation?
So I don't know exactly what's going on, but right from the beginning, I was like, something's not right here, because they said his shoulder's been bothering him for a couple of weeks, and then they said he's got a bruise in his rib cage, and it didn't really make sense. And then the idea that he's going to go see a specialist, I'm thinking, well, isn't an orthopedic surgeon the specialist when it comes to bones and shoulders? And what are we talking about here? And so, what we do know is that the doctor he's going to go see is a specialist on thoracic outlet syndrome management in athletes. So what they said was that one of the tests that they gave him, the swelling was so much it complicated the reading on it. But I don't think we're dealing with just a strain of something. I think there's something more significant going on. From my experience, it just, a strain in the upper rib cage causing pain in the shoulder doesn't make sense. But what I do know is when they do surgery for thoracic outlet syndrome, there's a blood clot in the shoulder that they go in and remove the top rib because that's compressed against the vein, causing the clotting to take place. And so I don't know that that's what it is, but we can start to connect dots with the doctor that he's going to go see, the pain that he's having, the shoulder and the rib cage issue. And so, who knows? Maybe it won't be anything more than a cracked rib or stress fracture, or maybe it's just a strain of the cartilage. But the indications to me are that this is something more significant and serious than that.
Steve, sticking with the injuries, I want you to answer something for me because I've always wondered about it, the difference between baseball and hockey. If Alejandro Kirk was a hockey player, the coach would be saying, "Are you ready to play?" and he would go right into game action. How come in baseball there is like the assignment and you build your way back? How come he just doesn't say, "Are you healthy? You're back playing"? I've always wondered that.
Yeah. So I think that the big part of it is timing, and for a position player, it's going to be, he hasn't seen a 99-mile-per-hour fastball that moves like it does in 2 months. And to just jump into the batter's box, you're begging for a guy to come out of the gate and not get any hits. And you want a guy to be able to sort of knock off the rust at the minor league level when the games don't matter, as opposed to down below. Like in football, they come right back in and they play because they grit their teeth and they go hit somebody, and it's okay. In baseball, it's such a skill to be able to do it, and the timing and the eye and the pitch recognition is so important that getting some level of experience to be able to go through it again is critical. For pitchers, it's more obvious. You've got to build up arm strength and a feel for your pitches. You've got to build up the velocity, and then you kind of want a guy, especially if he's got a leg issue, to re-experience everything, run over, cover first base, do all of those sorts of things and return to baseball activities. So that and the other thing is, if you're hurt, if you come back and then you're not quite ready, then you start the process all over, another 15 days. So you always want to make sure that the guy's 100% ready when you activate him, because you don't want to wait another 15 days for him to show that he's ready.
Awesome stuff as always, Steve. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, you bet it, guys. My pleasure. Anytime.
All right. One last break. Coming up, our FanDuel Best Bets as OverDrive continues on TSN 4, 5, TSN 1050, and the TSN app.
Let's go.
The NBA Finals live here on TSN.
OverDrive continuing. Mark Rowan for Brian Hayes alongside Jeff O'Neill and Jamie McLennan. Today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. We are taking the Hurricanes on the money line. We're taking the under, which is set at 5.5 goals. Seth Jarvis to take more than 3 shots. And you parlay that, you get plus 455 odds. Today's best bets, powered by FanDuel. Same game parlays are available for every Stanley Cup final game on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly. 19 plus, physically located in Ontario.
I thought this was going to be a collaboration. I think you've got each about 45, maybe you got 30 seconds. Noodles, give me your 5 teams for Dylan Larkin.
Minnesota,
At
Boston.
1?
Well, in no particular order. Minnesota, Boston, L.A., Anaheim, and Buffalo. And the reason being, I can give quickly, Eriksson Ek there, Zacha, he's an upgrade on Zacha, Laferriere in L.A., Anaheim has Granlund in the number 2 spot, and Buffalo has Ryan McLeod in the number 2 spot. So if you can slide them in there. And maybe a shout-out to Philadelphia, who has Dvorak at 5.5 in the 2 spots. So
very good list.
There's a 6-pack of teams.
I have Vegas because he's best friends with Eichel, and it's Vegas, and they always do it. The Sharks slide in right behind Macklin Celebrini. They've got young players that they could trade.
What a nice selection. That's a great pick, Death Row.
I also had the Ducks. I also had the Wild, and I had the Habs, who are craving a second-line center and also have young players. I don't know if he wants to go to Canada or not, but if he's going to Canada, that would probably be the spot. So there's our 5-pack.
I think you just cover it. I would bet money, all the money in the world. I mean, it's 10 teams, but he'll be on one of those teams when it actually happens.
Yeah.
Probably. When you look at it. The teams that we're talking about they've got currency to pay for him too, right? That's the biggest challenge.
I just like that we honored Brian Hayes with a 5-pack today. So
yeah,
I hope he's enjoying his day off. He's going to be back tomorrow. You guys will have a great show to wrap up the week, and you will be chatting
tomorrow at 4 p.m.
We'll chat then.